Young Philly, or as he's being nicknamed now, Young Fiddler, P. Philly, Philly Savile. That one was mine. Philly's been in the land down under without permission, and I'm not talking about him going to Australia without a visa. This video, of course, is not sponsored because that would be absolutely mental, but I did think about it. Yeah, I thought about putting an ad read in this because I'm a terrible person, and I feel like I need to say that. It leads me into a pretty important point before we talk about all of this. If you're familiar with me already, you can skip this part, but if you found this video by searching up Philly's name, little pre-warning for you. I am a little bit different to other YouTubers you might be used to watching. I'm very unfiltered. That's not because I'm really real or because I'm based or anything like that. I think it's actually just a reflection of my undiagnosed autism. I think it's also got something to do with my council house, single parent, child tax credit upbringing, which has made me a tad more resilient to the opinion of strangers compared to all the nerds in London who live in the penthouses. So as far as YouTubers go, I'm much more willing to give you my true, honest perspective because I don't really care if you get upset. With that said, I'm not an incel. So to the divine feminines watching along, some of this video you may find triggering. To any blokes watching, you won't because you're not women, but the birds might. In this video, I'm going to run through all the different types of responses that people have given to this Philly situation. I'm going to break them down, give my opinion, but first, a brief summary for anyone who's unfamiliar. Young Philly is a YouTuber slash rapper who some would quite easily mistake for Chunksy's shadow. Although in fairness, you can fit a lot into Chunksy's shadow. He's known for pretending to laugh uncontrollably at anything that anyone says, and then saying, "Nah, allow it, fam! Allow it, you man! Don't chat to me right now! Don't chat to man right now like that! Don't chat to man! Don't do it!" On repeat, as if he's got an uncontrollable tic. Young Philly is, in my opinion, quite forward with women. Some would even say a little bit too forward, and that does not sit well when you pair it with the news that came out of Australia yesterday morning. According to Sky News, Philly has been charged with R-wording a woman. I'm not scared of the word. Monetisation. The headline reads, "It is alleged the internet star, presenter and rapper who is touring Australia essayed a woman in her 20s in his Perth hotel room after a show." I'm going to start off with the first response that I saw, which was the top comment on Lad Bible's post about this, and it reads as follows. "What? Really? Nah, sorry, this can't be real. This guy has manners for real, isn't it?" Philly does not follow this man. I'm willing to bet money they don't know each other personally. Taj Mansour over here has formed a predetermined judgment based off of a content creator's online personality. Regular viewers of this channel are going to be so sick of hearing me say this because I make this point all the time whenever a YouTuber gets outed for anything. But as a content creator myself, I know this because I do it. We are fully capable of manipulating and creating whatever version of ourselves we want you to consume. It's literally in the name, creator. This isn't to say that Philly is capable of doing what he's been accused of, but it is to say that you and I, two people who do not know him personally, we're in no position whatsoever to judge his personality one way or another behind closed doors. We'd be basing that judgment on a carefully constructed image from an individual who pays his bills by relying on his image. He gets to decide what version of himself he is presenting to us. And that is nothing to go off of if we're trying to judge a man's personal character. You lot think this guy has manners? What are you watching then? Because he definitely doesn't. I'm sure girls can see this. Not shocked! Okay, loud. As much as we can't look at his content and decide from that he's a good guy, we also can't look at it and decide he's a bad guy because it's content. You're basing your judgment off a performer from how they perform. And when an entertainer is making a YouTube video, that is a performance. An example regarding myself, right? I built my career off of very twisted humour. Believe what I'm about to say or don't, I'm not really harsh, you're not in my head. But I know that off camera, my private beliefs about bigotry completely contradict the jokes I make publicly when there is a mic in front of me. I believe that judging anyone based off anything other than their own individual personal qualities is stupid. And I'll confidently sit with that opinion in my head and then go on to open up a YouTube video saying KSI's name in a heavy Nigerian accent because I find it hilarious. So an entertainer performing could be, but is not always necessarily a reflection of that person behind the entertainment. I came across this next comment on TikTok, but I've seen it repeated across social media a fair few times, and it's a very controversial one. It reads, "Why did girl go to his room? She went for wood, free Philly." To which the creator responds, "For real." I understand this mentality. Let me land. Of course, the most probable reason that two adults are in a hotel together at night who don't know each other is to have sex. So when the initial intent from both parties is probably to sleep together, given the setting that they're in, it makes it a bit more of a complicated allegation compared to if the setting was an alleyway. So on a surface level, I do understand it. I understand that point. But I feel like by making this point, you're almost failing to realise the very real fact that consent can be withdrawn. I don't believe that you can just withdraw consent in your head without trying at least to verbally communicate that the consent is withdrawn. But regardless, if consent is withdrawn, the initial intention becomes irrelevant. I think it's a mixed bag when it comes to people making that point. I think some people are genuinely just weirdos and they believe once you're in a hotel room together, once you decided to have sex, there's no going back. If that's you, you might want to blast a little bit of P. Diddy, because that's where your mind's at, my son. I also believe there'll be some people with that mindset who don't exactly realise what they're implying. I went over to X, Twitter, whatever it's called, and a post with over 20,000 likes says, "You are a fool if you believe Chunks and the rest of that clique don't know exactly what kind of person he is." In my opinion, this stance of guilty by association, especially when it comes to someone who himself hasn't been proven guilty yet, is mental. I, many years ago was friendly with people in my industry who I thought were sound. A couple of those people, further down the line, were accused of similar things as Philly. One of those examples, there was evidence which shows that undoubtedly the fella did it. Thankfully, back then, we're talking 2016 time, outrage culture did not exist like it does today. But if anyone ever suggested that I was complicit in actions that other people made just because I knew them, that would knock my stomach. I think to assume anything like that is so unfair without evidence, especially since your foundation is based upon fuck all. The UK reacting to young Philly makes me disgusted. Men, once again, saying, "Oh, females are just putting false rape charges. Dumb motherfuckers for real." The court of public opinion works both ways though. To play devil's advocate, I feel like there would be much less of an emphasis on false allegations if there was less of a mentality of guilty until proven innocent. Whether you like it or not, the reality is that false allegations do happen. And in my opinion, one of the main reasons why the idea of an allegation being false gets such a big spotlight shone on it is due to people being so quick to react without evidence. Lives do get ruined when strangers attack someone who's been accused only for that accused person to then be found innocent. At the same time, lives get ruined when someone has been legitimately assaulted and they've got strangers on the internet calling them a liar. Rape is arguably one of the worst things a human could do to another human, but to prove it happened or to prove it didn't happen, both are extremely difficult. Someone can commit an act of sexual violence and sometimes face no legal repercussions because of how hard it can be to prove. Meanwhile, being wrongfully accused can still lead to negative social consequences because of how hard it can be to disprove. I think to have a conversation and even to question something like this before the jury is out does not necessarily make someone disgusting. Closing points. Just because you watch Philly does not mean you have any grasp on who he is in his personal life. I'd even argue that you have less of an idea of who he is than someone who's just neutral because you have been sold on an entertainer's persona, which does not exist as an actual personality. The point I've just made could be used for or against him. So it's best to just altogether stop pretending that we know people just because we watch them on a screen. False allegations can and do happen. And I believe, personally, that they seem to happen a little bit more with people that are famous because there's more to be gained. I also believe that it's equally true that famous people, without any humbling, can be more prone to doing sick and twisted things because they're high off the power that comes with being famous. I recognise the irony in saying what I'm about to say, but I think that this current culture that we're all living in, we're all involved in to some extent, of being far too opinionated on things that on a deeper level we are clueless about, is extremely damaging. Right now, we could be sensationalising a situation where a woman has been raped or a man has had his career destroyed. That's nuts. If you think I've sat on the fence too much in this video, that's because, just like you, I wasn't in the fucking hotel room, knobhead. I saw all the different responses from both sides and I thought they were very interesting, deserving of a case study almost. See you in a bit. Bye-bye.